All right, here is the declining balance method, the example that we left off with, the one that has Dabco purchasing for $65,000 cash, equipment that had an estimated useful life of 8 years, a residual value of $5,000. This one was double declining balance. So anyway, let's take a look. We had left off actually with this slide 54. We had looked at the first 2 years. I want to point out that we're ready then to look at year 3. Year 3, you're taking that year-end book value. It becomes the beginning book value for year 3. You're multiplying that times the rate of 25% because it is 12.5 times 2. That gives you 9,141 for annual depreciation. You add that to the accumulated depreciation for year 2, and it equals 37,579. When you take to come up with the year-end book value, you would take the beginning book value, 65,000 less 37,571, and that would give you year-end book value of 27,421. Then year 4, you would bring that, you would just repeat the pattern, and you keep doing that until you reach nearing the end. You cannot depreciate beyond $5,000 residual value. So that means that you're going to have to look at that. The year beginning book value is 8677, and since you can't depreciate beyond the 5,000, find the difference. That gives you annual depreciation for year 8 of 3,677. By the time you've updated everything, then the accumulated depreciation is 60,000, which is equal to your depreciable base of 60,000. All right, so this is the thing with declining balance. You're really ignoring the residual value until you approach the end of its useful life. It is not figured into the formula, but you just do not want to go past that for depreciation. Over here we have a depreciation schedule. They have added to it ones that are using the declining balance method. The parts warehouse has DDB, double declining balance, or 200 dB. The cherry picker is 150 dB, which is 1.5 times the straight line rate. Notice the cherry picker was acquired in the year 2009. Over here in the rate or the life column, they have rates. The parts warehouse, because it is double declining balance, they're saying should have a 40-year life. If you take 1 divided by 40, that is 2.5%. And when you multiply that times the multiple of 2, that is 5% rate with a double declining balance rate. On the cherry picker that has a 10-year life, if you take 1 divided by 10, that's 10%. And you take that times 1.5, that's where the 15% rate comes in. Then over here, the depreciable base is 320,000 for the warehouse. The residual is 30. And the depreciation in prior years, because this was acquired in 2006. So remember that what you're going to need in order to be able to do the calculation, you're going to need to take the depreciable base plus the residual value less accumulated depreciation to take that and multiply times your rate when it comes to declining balance. So the book value, 350,000 minus 49,919 equals 300,081. The cost here of 350 came from the 320 depreciable base plus residual of 30. All right, then you're going to take the 300,081 times the 5% rate, the double declining balance rate, and that's where you get the 15,004, which is the depreciation for year-end 12/31/09. Now, in the year of acquisition, you are to calculate the full year's depreciation. Prorate depreciation based on the period when it occurs, as under straight line depreciation. For year 2, depreciation, calculate normally using the depreciable base. That is the book value less the year one depreciation. Here we have an example. On August 12th, Newco acquires a press for $17,000. It estimates that the press will have an estimated life of 5 years and a $2,000 salvage value, which is the residual value. So we want to know what is year one and year two depreciation using 150% declining balance. We'll take the $17,000, estimated useful life of 1/5, which would be 0.20, 20%. Take it times 1.5, that would be 0.30 or 30%, if you wanted to get it into a decimal or a percent totally, and it will yield $5,100. Now, we need to prorate that because it was acquired on August 12th. So August 12th that's within the first 15 days of the month of August. So you count August, and it's August, September, October, November, December. They're 5 months out of 12. So multiply the 5,100 times 5/12, and that's $2,125. Year two, you're taking the 17,000, subtracting the 2,125 to yield the 14,875. Again, you can multiply that times 0.30 or 30%, or as they've done, they've used the 1/5 times 1.5. That's $462.50. All right, so now we're looking at the depreciation schedule again. The cherry picker, the book value is $180,000. That is the depreciable base plus the residual value. We're multiplying it times that 15% rate. That's $27,000. And since it was acquired June 30th, that is after the 15th. So we do not get to count June. We're going to count July through December. That's 6 months, 6/12, or 1/2 of a year. So that's $13,500. There is no depreciation in prior years. The accumulated depreciation 12/31/09, therefore, is the same as the depreciation for year ending 12/31/09. Now, some of the year's digits, SYD. This method, another kind of accelerated depreciation, is rarely used today, but they're going to go over it, and you may very well encounter it on the Certified Bookkeeper exam, so you need to be ready for it. The year-to-year decline in depreciation is typically more gradual than under the declining balance method, and we need to look at the formula. The depreciable rate times the depreciable base equals depreciation expense. So we're going to take the remaining useful life divided by the sum of the year's digits, and we're going to multiply. There is a formula that we have n times the quantity n plus 1 divided by 2. N refers to the number of the estimated useful life. So if it's 5 years, it would be 5 times the quantity 5 plus 1, or 5 times 6 would be 30 divided by 2, and you'd have 15. So it just depends what the useful life is. If the useful life is 10, it's 10 times 10 plus 1, which is 11. So 10 times 11 is 110, divided by 2 would be 55. So just be aware of how this works. So here we have a situation with Donco, purchases for $40,000, equipment that it estimates will have a 5-year useful life and a $4,000 salvage value. So with a 5-year life, we're going to start out year one. At the beginning of year one, we have 5 years that remain. So you're going to put 5 in the top in the numerator and divide it by, and that formula is n times n plus 1 divided by 2. So n plus 1 is 6. So it's 5 times 6, or 30, divided by 2. So 30 divided by 2 is 15. So we're going to have 5 divided by 15 times the depreciable base, and the depreciable base is where we take the cost of 40,000, subtract the salvage value of 4,000, and that gives us a depreciable base of 36,000. So when you take 5/15ths, or you could reduce it if you want to, 1/3 times 36,000, you're going to get 12,000. Just be sure if you're going to go ahead and leave the fraction in that form, take and do your multiplication first and then your division last. So you would take 5 times 36,000 and then divide by 15, round to the nearest dollar. And that will keep you from having a rounding error. All right, so that's year 1. Year 2, well, the numerator, the top number, is going to decrease. We have 5 years. We started with 5 over 15. Year 2 is 4 over 15 times 36,000. And that gives a smaller number for depreciation expense of 9,600. If we were going to year 3, that would be a 3/15. Year 4 would be 2/15. Year 5 would be 1/15. Under some of the year's digits, booking a mid-year acquisition is cumbersome, very cumbersome, because you need to compute the full year depreciation, then prorate this amount between years 1 and 2. Depreciation then, for all subsequent years, have to be prorated. As in the example before with 5/15, if we don't use it the first year with a full 12 months, we're going to have to take 12 months and use that fraction 5/15. And then when it goes to 4/15, we're going to have to use a full 12 months for that as well. Here we have an example. On April 1 of 2007, ABC purchases for $64,000 equipment that it estimates will have a 4-year useful life and $4,000 residual value. All right, since it's a 4-year useful life, we've got the first 12 months. We're talking about taking the rate here. A 4-year useful life would be 4 times 4 plus 1, which is 5. So 4 times 5 is 20, divided by 2 is 10. So the denominator here is 10 for that first year. And the 4 years, so when we start, the numerator is a 4. So it's 4/10 times, and we're doing the depreciable base, 64,000 less 4,000. That's why we've got the 60,000. So 4/10 times 60,000 is 24,000. However, it was acquired on April 1 of 2007. And April 1, you count the full April and go through December. So we're talking about from April through December is 9 months, 9/12 or 3/4, or 0.75 or 75% of the 24,000. So we need to take 3/4. That means that in 2007, we have 18,000. And for 2008, that remaining, you take 24,000 less 18,000, leaves 6,000, using this first fraction for 2008. Now, the second 12 months, the fraction drops. Remember, our denominator is 10. That's the sum of the year's digits. But we drop to where we're using the fraction 3, so 3 years remaining, times 60,000, that's 18,000. Well, we're going to have to split it because it's prorated. Now, we have some months left here in 2008 because we're still looking at, with 2008, we have 9/12 or 3/4 of times the 18,000 to come up with that 13.5 using this second rate. And then that means we have 3/12, 1/4, or the remainder, if you want to look at it that way, of 4,500, because these two add up. The third 12 months, you're down to 2/10 times 60,000 equals 12,000, and you've got to do the same. You've got to pick up the 9/12 or the 3/4.